Crocomelon? What on earth does a Crocomelon look like? Ugh, sorry, I asked. Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Yes, that was a reference to a vintage Juicy Juice commercial. But today we're checking out a Crocomelon mod collection weird guitar. I don't know, I thought it was cool enough, let's check it out. But at least it comes in the cool Gibson government green money case. Apparently Gibson has a couple of these left over, because we've been seeing them included with a few special guitars. This was a little bit of a selling point. Even though it's a Gibson USA case with a custom shop guitar, this is one of those times I'm okay with it. But, ooh, wow, I actually really like that top. That's very explosive. I'd probably opt for black plastics myself, based on first impressions, but hey, it's got a vibe. Let's go ahead and take this thing out of the case. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's weird. Okay, so this was not called Crocomelon on the website. If it was, I probably would have bought it 10 times faster because that's just a hilarious name. But this is a Gibson R9 that they've given this really cool gloss green finish to. Obviously, we got the white plastics and knobs. We actually have P94 pickups to document today, but they gave a topper to the pickups that kind of looks like crocodile skin. So I think that's why they called it Crocomelon, because it's like a watermelon mixed with a crocodile. But the other thing that made this documentable is the fact that it actually has a satin back and neck. So this is like a perfect player's R9 because you don't have like the sticky finish on the back that some guys don't like. Now, is it a big deal to have a gloss finish on the back? No, some people even prefer that. But usually ultimate players guitars will have a glossy front because it portrays as super beautiful, but the back where it comes in contact with your body is a little bit more slidey. And yes, we do have a chatoyant effect here. And in many ways here, the whole open pore satin finish that we've got going on back here kind of reminds you of the feel of a crocodile even. Not that I've felt any crocodiles recently, but I would imagine they would be scaly like this. And yes, indeed, it does have a demo shop serial number on it, but you can take certain photo angles of it where it just completely disappears, like what had happened in the demo shop. That was another reason why I thought, yeah, I should buy that, because I thought it had no serial number, because that was just kind of strange. As far as case candy on this croc, let's see. Just our regular 2-year playability warranty, and the sheet that tells us everything that they deemed incorrect on this one. And let's see, full COA or half COA? Ah, it's a half COA. But usually the mod collection ones are nowadays, so just further proof of that cracked ice custom that we documented a couple of days ago, that was probably something a little bit different. But ooh, nice, look at this. If I wanted to convert it back to the black plastic look, they included one of the historic style truss rod covers. And nice, we even get a Gibson multi-tool in here. The little silica packet and Gibson USA paperworks. Obviously, this stuff was just in the green case. It doesn't necessarily belong to this particular guitar, but I bet this would actually look pretty good in a lift and reissue case. So this has got the green on black with a sandwich of that on top. Or perhaps we can play off the brown and the green and the pink. I mean, it kind of works, but I see why they gave it the case that they did. If you could get the Les Paul Jr. style case that has like the gator exterior to it, and then the brown interior, I think that would be the perfect case for this guitar. But to learn more about this one, let's go ahead and throw it on the workbench to take a look at its parts and specs. All my sneaking suspicions were correct on this one, but first let's check out our pickups. So here you can see the whole alligator skin phenomenon that they were going for. It appears to just be like a strip of jerky or something that they just put over top of that, and then they put the cover on that to hold it into place. So you likely could remove that if you wanted to. But this is a P94 pickup. I can't remember if I've actually demoed a set of these on the channel or not. Okay, correction. I have demoed P94s before, but it was in the push tone Les Paul, and you can easily swap the pickups in and out of that guitar, so it didn't really stick with me. This is my first dedicated P94 guitar. But basically, it's a P90 in the shape of a humbucker. So theoretically, you can put a P90 sounding pickup in a guitar that's already been routed for humbuckers without having to do modifications. But Gibson just recently relaunched their pickup lineup in a new packaging design, and oddly enough, the P94 was not included in that. So perhaps production cut off in early 2022? Or they're just going to keep making them but not sell them separately. But here's what our bridge one looks like. It's labeled P94T for treble, whereas this is R for rhythm. Now you can tell that they modified the covers on this because that's how this burn mark happened on that sticker. The solder iron right here. But here we can see our long neck tenon construction. The maple cap and the mahogany body, as well as the maple block of wood capping off the truss rod route. And here's what the bridge pickup cavity looks like. Nothing too fancy in here. But you can definitely tell these white rings are not Gibson's, because they actually have a little recessed area right there before the screw. But to be fair, usually Gibson doesn't use pure white rings. But now I'm curious, what do P94 pickups read at? 8.07 in the bridge, 7.66 in the neck, and the middle just for fun, 3.93. So kind of similar to a regular Gibson P90. Now the hardware might surprise you. First off, we have like these nylon-like saddles on here. That gives you a different color than you're used to seeing on most reissues. But if you flip it over, it's not a Gibson ABR1. This is a Tone Pros AVR2. So occasionally Gibson will use Tone Pros products on their guitars, either as an upgrade for a particular model or if they're just running low on their own parts. I've seen that happen before. So this one's still mounted traditionally. There's no post in the body or anything, but this is actually a locking bridge. You see those Allen screws right there? These secure it to the post right here. So when you're doing string changes, it won't fall off, but honestly, you don't even have to lock it in. It's just such a tight fit. And then usually a reissue would have a lightweight aluminum tailpiece. This is just the standard advanced plated incorporated Gibson USA full weight one. That does not surprise me at all, based on what I was kind of seeing everywhere else. But this finish is really interesting. It's an ultra active top as far as the dancing of the flames and figuring go. However, I did not even realize this when I unboxed it, but there is a slight sparkle in the finish. They just put a little bit over top. It's kind of hard to see, but it is there. I'm hoping that it's coming through. I probably could have lived without that, but it's a nice little feature. I still don't understand why we have a black poker chip here where everything else was whited out. And oh, hey, that's kind of interesting. This was never drilled for a pickguard. That's cool. But here's a look at our white speed knobs here. Regular 2 volumes, 2 tones. Doesn't look like we have any fancy electronics going on here. Moving on from our body, let's talk about the neck. We've got a beautiful rosewood fretboard. I like how the inlays are slightly greened. Most reissues do have some sort of a light aging effect to this, but the green in the finish is really helping bring out the rest of that, so it kind of ties the guitar in together. We've got the standard 12-inch fretboard radius with a 24 3/4-inch scale length. 22 medium jumbo frets, and you do have the tortoiseshell colored side marker inlays. That's why they have that little reddish hue. That's why you buy an R9. It's one of their special specs. And it should be a nice in-between neck here. 1.68 inches at the nut width. That increases to 2.05 by the 12th. First fret neck depth of 0.88. That increases to 0.98 by the 12th. Here's that neck at the first fret and the 12th fret. So just a nice in-between neck, as 59 reissues are known for. If you want something a little chunkier, go for a 58 or a 57. And if you want something slimmer, you go for the 1960. Now the headstock is the one thing I don't really like on this guitar. They did the whole satin finish here. I really like the satin finishes on the back, but I'm glad they glossed this top. But if they could change something else up that would make me happy is when they at least do the gloss top, let's do the gloss headstock and then leave the back like this. I think they would make more buyers happy that way, but we do not have a Les Paul model silkscreen on this one. Sometimes they just opt to leave that off on these mod collection guitars. That appears to be some sort of like a nylon nut here. And we've got the button tuners. They're not my favorite, but I guess it kind of ties in the whole white aspect that they were going for here. Here's what our truss rod looks like straight from the factory. And you can also kind of see some of the wood grain showing through their new headstock veneer here. And look how chunky this thing is. That's like 3 times the thickness of a regular truss rod cover, and it's a little bit wider as well. Not my favorite one that they've ever used. As far as blemishes go, we've got a small ding right there by the bridge. There's a bit of a lacquer sink line right here in this knot in the wood. If you catch it in the light, it just kind of looks like a ding. And then we've got a light gouge right here, likely when they were installing the nut or something. And then when we move on to the back, I mean, if you catch it in the light just right, you can see a few small light impressions, like right here in a few different areas. It's a very thin finish back here. I mean, if you're going to play this at all, your buckle will just chew this back up. So maybe remove your belt buckle if you don't want that to happen. The wiring in here is kind of interesting. It's not your standard custom shop style. However, we still do have the R9 stamp in the shelf. They've got the treble bleed mod here on our tone pots, which will help you when you roll off the tone. And the back plate is the same as the truss rod cover, so you got the pearloid side, and you also have a pure white side. You could flip the truss rod cover if you wanted to, but you could also flip this one, but you can't do that on the back plate. If you wanted it to go all white, you just have to replace that. But they are just as thick. Oddly enough, we have a black output jack plate. You've got the large Gibson USA style strap button in both of your usual locations. Here's what the toggle switch cavity looks like. The thin binding in the cutaway is pretty cool on this example, because the maple top has a lighter green hue to it, and you've got so much flame figuring there. But even the sides are pretty nice on this. Now the side that you'll see when you play this. And then even the back of the neck has a light chatoyant effect to it. Not a lot, but enough. However, I will say, this does not feel as good as Gibson's typical factory quality satin finish that they do on their custom shops. This is a grade below that. For example, the Rhino Les Paul. Those things are slick and smooth. You don't feel the wood grain at all. This is definitely not as nice as that. However, it does have a more raw feeling, and I will say, this thing has a very good resonant quality to it when you strum it. There's pros and cons to each, but I won't lie, it does make it feel a little bit cheap for being an R9. But here we can see those Gibson Kluson Deluxe tuners, the mod stamp, and the new serial number put on this one, Demo Shop 0043. Oh, and there's also a weird impression mark right there. I'm not sure what that's about. And all said and done, this one weighs 8 pounds, 7.3 ounces. That's pretty good for a reissue, because they do not have any type of weight relief at all. I'm really impressed by this one. If you dig green guitars, you're probably gonna like it, but even if you don't, I think if you could strum and play this one, you would understand the phenomenon I'm talking about here. But let's go ahead and demo the tones of a P94 pickup. Alright, let's go ahead and run through these tones. Bridge pickup actually sounds pretty darn close to a P90. Got some nice bite to it. However, then we go to our neck pickup. I'm actually surprised because when I was playing this, getting ready for this, it was stuck in like single coil mode. Like it's 4 conductor wiring, right? And when I looked in the back, something was not right. It looked like one of the wires was missing, and then since I was playing it, I guess it just completely detached. So to quickly get something, I just put a little bit of tape right there, and now it's back into the mode that it's supposed to be. So yeah, there was a little bit of an error on the neck pickup, but I've got it good enough to get a demo out of it. Now our middle position. like these P94 pickups. I think why more people don't use P94s is simply because they don't realize they even exist. I mean, Gibson hardly ever puts these in anything stock from the factory, at least within the solid body world. I mean, sometimes you find like a jazzy archtop guitar that has them, so I don't know. I think they gave up on these too early. They need to just start throwing them in a 50s or 60s standard, and then maybe people would try them more and end up liking them. Let's try some distortion. Yeah, these pickups just rock. Love that neck pickup. I almost like these better than regular humbuckers. Probably better than regular P90s even too. Or maybe it's just this guitar. I like the whole satin finish on the back. Now that we know all about Crocomelon R9, what are my final thoughts on this thing? Very surprised. I was just expecting this to be a, yeah, let's check out a P94 guitar. I mean, yeah, it's an R9 reissue. We've reviewed enough of these, but this ended up being so much more. Sure, we had a little bit of a something going on here, where it wasn't exactly wired correctly from the factory and then it just completely fell off the pot. That's not me messing around with it either. I could send it back under the playability warranty and have them fix it, but it would take a month to get back and I could do it in about 2 minutes. So I'm just gonna go ahead and solder that back into place in the proper format. But I ended up really loving the satin feeling on the back, even though it's not the highest end satin finish that we've ever seen. This is just such a cool guitar, but I like green guitars. If you don't like green guitars, you're probably like, ew, this thing is nasty. But I would highly suggest checking out some P94 pickups. This guitar converted me on that. I mean, maybe this is just a good set. And sure, they do look goofy, but the tones were there. So if you're interested in being the next owner of this one, you can find it for sale on my website. But thank you, Troglodytes, for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. Hey, if you enjoy green burst guitars, I think you might enjoy this one that I reviewed. It was a Cloud 9 reissue, meaning we've got special weight relief, and I played Rock Lobster.